Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss the first topic in research methodology, that is research. So, in this video, we are going to discuss what is research, the basic meaning of research, then we move on to the definition of research that is given by different social scientists, and the objectives of research. Then, we will discuss what are the characteristics of the research. First, we will discuss the basic meaning of the word research. Okay, so the research, as you know, it is comprised of two syllables, that is re and search, which means search again. So, if you are carrying out a search on a particular topic again and again, we can call it as a research. Another meaning that is given by some of the social scientists, basic meaning given by social scientists for research, it is searching for knowledge. If you are searching for knowledge, if you want to know more about a particular topic, a particular stream, science stream, a particular issue, we can call it as research. Another one is another meaning of research is the fact finding process. If you are carrying out a search to know the facts, then you can call it as research. Another one is it's the art of scientific investigation. If you are carrying out a research in a systematic process, you can call it as a research. Out of this meaning, the most accepted kind of meaning of research is that it is a systematic method for finding answer to a question in hand. That is one of the most accepted meaning of research in, especially in social science. It's a systematic method for finding answer to a question or finding solution to a problem in hand. So these are the meaning of research in a simple manner. Now we move on to what are the definition that is given by social scientists. There are lots of definitions are given by social scientists regarding research. Out of it, I think some important definition and simple definition about important, simple, and most celebrated definition about the research methodology or research. So the first definition that is given by Advanced Learners Dictionary of Current English, they define the research as a careful investigation or an inquiry, especially through search for new facts in any branch of knowledge. That is the definition given by Advanced Learners Dictionary. If you can elaborate that particular definition, which means that if you carry out research in any branch of knowledge with a view to have new knowledge, with a view to have new information, new facts, with a view to have new facts. You can call it as a research. It should be a careful investigation by following a systematic approach, and the aim should be to have new facts or to have new information regarding any particular topic. It can be in any branch of science. So if you carry out research in chemistry, physics, social science, or any branch of knowledge with a view to attain new facts or new information in a careful manner, we can call it as research according to Advanced Learners Dictionary. Then another one, a definition that is given by Redman and Mowry. Then 1923, Redman and Mowry given this definition. This is one of the simplest definition of research methodology or research. They define research as a systematized effort to gain new knowledge. If you are carrying out research to have new information, new knowledge in a systematic manner, that is what is important. Research should be systematic. You have to follow the method that is laid down for the research. If you are carrying out research in that systematic manner, we can call it as, and your objective is to gain new knowledge, we can call it as research. And the last definition that I selected Out of all these definitions, this is one of the important definition that is given by Clifford Moody, and this is one of the celebrated definition of research in social science. And this is, if you go through this particular definition, you can see almost all the steps in research in this particular definition itself. So if you know the steps in research, you can easily define this particular definition that is given by Clifford Moody. And it goes like this. That is, research is defining, redefining the problem, formulating hypothesis or suggested solution, collecting, organizing, evaluating data, making deductions and reaching conclusions, and at last carefully testing the conclusion to determine whether they fit the formulating hypothesis. So it starts from defining and redefining the problems, and then you have to formulate the hypothesis. Then you have to collect the data, organize the data, you have to evaluate the data or analyze the data, making the deduction, and you have to reach the conclusion. And last, carefully, you have to test the hypothesis and whether they fit for the formulating hypothesis. You have to check. So almost all this, he covered almost all the steps in research. So that is the definition which is given by Clifford Moody. And this is one of the celebrated definition that is there in the social science. Now move on to the next segment, that is objectives of research. And we have four major objectives of research, which is given by a C.R. Kothari. And for the first one is to gain familiarity with the phenomena or to achieve new insight into it. That is the first objective, which means that in order to know more about a particular phenomena, a particular topic, or in order to have new information about a particular issue, a particular problem, a particular topic, if you are carrying out a research, such kind of research is actually normally it is termed as formative research or exploratory research, and that is also that is one of the objective of research, to have a familiarity with the particular phenomena, a particular situation, a particular problem, or to have more new information about a particular issue, a particular problem. So that is first objective of research. The second one is to portray accurately the characteristics of a particular individual, a situation, or a group. In research methodology, we normally call it as a descriptive kind of research study. So that is a second objective of research, in order to understand, in order to know the characteristics of a particular situation, a particular individual, a particular group. If you are carrying out research, that is normally it is called as a descriptive kind of research studies. That is also an objective of research. Say, for example, if you are carrying out research on the migrated people, if you are carrying out the research on tribal people, to know about their social economic status, their way of living, their standard of living, such kind of studies also considered as one of the objective of this research, that is to understand the characteristics of a particular individual or a group. That to determine the frequency with which something occurs, or with which it associated with something else. Such kind of research normally termed as diagnostic kind of research. Why, say for example, if you are carrying out research, why this kind of incident is happening again and again, or in order to understand the frequency with something occurs, or why this particular incident is associated with the other particular event. If you are carrying out such kind of things, such kind of research, normally it is termed as diagnostic research studies, and it is also one of the objectives of research. Then fourth one is that to test a hypothesis of causal relationship between variables. To know the cause and effect relationship between two variables, if you are carrying out a study, that is also an objective of the research. There are a lot of cause and effect relationship studies are carrying out nowadays. For example, if you are carrying out a study to correlate the consumption expenditure and health status, that is a kind of cause and effect relationship causal study. Actually, that is your purchasing habit and whether it is having an impact on your health status. If you are purchasing more and more kind of junk foods and this fat kind of foods, it will be having what an impact of impact on your health status. So, to test a hypothesis of causal relationship between two variables, if you are carrying out such kind of research, you can call it as what that. Normally, it is called hypothesis testing research studies, and it is also coming under the objectives of research. So these are the objectives of research, which is governed by C.R. Kothari. And first is to gain familiarity with a particular phenomena or particular issues. The second, to portray accurately about the characteristics of a particular individual or a group of people. So first one we can call it as exploratory or formulative studies. Second one is a descriptive or research study, descriptive kind of research studies. And third one is to determine the frequency which something occurs. In medicinal research also in related to natural calamities with related to we are conducting such kind of studies, and these studies are coming under the heading of diagnostic research studies. Then to test the cause and effect relationship between two variables, if you are conducting studies, such kind of studies are hypothesis testing studies. So these are the objectives of research, and now we move on to the characteristics of research. So the first and foremost important characteristics of research is reliability. Reliability means that the research should be reliable. Research should be reliable in the sense that it should be we can able to depend upon the result of the research. It should be reliable, and the method that we are using for the research, that should be reliable method, and the result should be reliable. So that is the first and foremost important characteristics of research. And then second is validity. If you are carrying out a research, a particular kind of research, it should be validated. If you are testing it again, it should have the same result. It should have a universal application. So that is what the validity means. And the third one is accuracy. It should be accurate. It should be accurate. You have to use proper methodology to get the accurate result. Then only we can able to generalize the result of that particular topic. Then credibility is also one of the important characteristics of research. Credibility means that the result or the research that you are carrying out, it should be credible, and you should use proper methodology to have a credible result, and it should not be biased. It should not be biased to a particular individual or particular group. Or so that is all about credibility. Then generalizability, you can able to generalize the result if you are carrying out a study based on a sample data collection, and it should be representative. Then only you can able to generalize it. Empirical, you have to, it should be based on the empirical data or empirical evidences. Then only we can be able to validate the result of the research. And seventh one is a systematic approach. Systematic approach in the sense that the method that you are going to employ for the study, it should be you should follow in a systematic manner. That systematic manner is very much important for to have a reliable, valid result, and the research is always judged by the method and the systematic approach rather than that of outstanding result, and it should be controlled. It should be set up in a controlled atmosphere, and it should not be biased also. So these are some of the characteristics of the research. reliability. It should be reliable, validity, accuracy, credibility, generalizability, empirical, and systematic, and it should be controlled. It should be in a controlled setup so that we can able to do it within the time framework. So these are some of the characteristics of research. So in this video, we discussed what is actually the meaning of research in a simple manner, and we after that we discussed the definition of research, and then we move on to the objectives of the research. After that, we discuss the what are the characteristics of the research and how that you can able to relate this particular session, and you can able to relate this particular topic with the real time real life experiences also. You can able to connect this kind of researchers. You can able to relate this kind of researchers, and you can able to cite this kind of researchers in your personal life as well. And with this, I'm winding up, and thank you for watching.